Well, I don't want to touch a nerve, but the homily was already written. So yesterday at the Florida-Georgia game, at the beginning of the game, they typically do something, right? You have the captains on both sides from both teams, and they do what? Right, and one of them calls it out, and if they get the right heads or tails, they have the option to receive the kickoff or to kick to the other team, right? Well, that's good in football, but it's not good in the spiritual life, okay? We cannot choose head or tails in the spiritual life. It was very clear in today's gospel that we must both love God and love our neighbor. And we must love God, the first and greatest commandment, with our whole heart, with our whole mind, and with our whole soul. What does that look like? What does that mean to love God with our whole heart? Well, isn't the heart the center and seat of our deepest emotions? Isn't that where it lies? And so we must love God with all our heart. Give Him everything. He should mean everything to us before anyone or anything else in this world. To love Him, the emotional part of our being, should be His first. To love Him with all our mind. Well, He gave us an intellect to understand, to come and know Him personally. We all have a best friend. You know that friend. You know what that friend likes. You know what that friend doesn't like. You know how they think. You can almost anticipate what your best friend's going to do. And so we must use our intellect with the reason that God has given us. So that is the power and the ability that we have to come and know Him with our minds, with our intellect. And then we must love Him with all our soul. Spiritually connect with Him. He is both the goal, He's our desire, He's our everything in our spiritual life. We're not directed towards objects, we're directed towards the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And thinking of that now, let us move to love of neighbor. Well, how does the Trinity love? Well, the Father gives to the Son gives to the Father, the love is the Holy Spirit. That love, that bond is flowing among the three persons of the Trinity. There is a careless, emptying, self-giving of yourself, of each of the people in the Trinity, to each other, not counting the cost. That word again, kenosis, the complete self-emptying. And if we ever forget what that looks like, just gaze at the cross. There's nothing that Jesus did not give us. He completely and totally emptied Himself. And why is that so important? Because we're made in His image and likeness. We appear as Him and as human persons, and our likeness is how we think and believe and feel. That's what needs to look like Christ. And why is that so important that we must do that? Because the gift, and this is the part that we miss, the gift in that self-emptying love directed for the benefit of the other. And what's the best thing to desire for the other? Heaven. Agape love. When we love that way, we come more and more and more into His image and likeness. Now, why is that important? Because from that we experience His peace, His joy, His fullness. We are whole. I alluded to that a week or two ago. How it's counterintuitive that you give yourself away and you get yourself back. You get yourself back better than when you gave yourself away. Because that's the love that God is calling us to. That's the love we see in Jesus Christ. And so, brothers and sisters, when we're living a life that's contradictory to God's law, we are not loving God, number one. And if, for example, we're in an irregular relationship, neither of those individuals are helping each other get to heaven. They're actually stagnating their spiritual maturation into the image and likeness of Jesus Christ. Same thing if we come to Mass. I'm glad you're all here, but when we come to Mass, and we don't come prepared or we come with a grudge against someone, it's going to just hold us back. It's going to hold us back. Think of a little seedling, growing. It's just sprouting, but it needs water and it needs sunlight and it needs nutrition to fully blossom into that image and likeness of Jesus Christ. And He gives us Himself in the Eucharist, the ultimate, the source and summit of our faith. Body, blood, soul, divinity, humanity. His entire person. Nothing held back when it comes to us. So why do we hold back with Him? And I know we'll all agree it's so easy to love God, isn't it? We don't have to deal with any difficult personalities. We don't have to deal with any grouches or any impatient people or critical people or people that complain all the time or people that are miserable to be around. That's the cross. And Jesus puts up with us every day. Think about that. When we're cranky and miserable and impatient and unkind, He puts up with us. So in that bearing of one another's faults, we grow and mature into that image and likeness of Jesus Christ. That is love. And how do you respond to that? Oh, stop being so cranky. No, that's not the right way. But be gentle and loving and maybe be an example. Because there's no defense for humility. When you respond to someone in kindness, when they're being harsh to you, it's going to make them look within. It's going to make them start to introspect. And I was talking with someone before Mass, and they were saying, they're going through growth in their spiritual life. And how the people at work actually called this person up and said, "What's different about you?" And the person said, "I'm getting to know the Lord better. I'm turning my life more over to the Lord." The image and likeness of Jesus Christ. So you're also evangelizing in that moment. So if you ever forget what we're called to do, think about the love in the Trinity, the complete self-donation for the will of the other and the benefit of the other. And I know that's a tall order because the world is not telling us that. It's telling us me, 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 me. You don't have that titanium phone. Sorry. You don't measure up. Right? It's not about stuff. It's about love. God is love. God equals love. His very person, His very being is love. He doesn't know anything. He cannot be anything other than love. He's incapable of being evil and of being unkind. And so we made in His image and likeness must love both God and neighbor. So when he chose on that Holy Thursday night and that Good Friday to give himself entirely to us in the Eucharist, literally, I'm going to say it again, literally, no figurative language here, body, blood, soul, divinity, and humanity. He held nothing back. Jesus did not have to say, I'll take heads or I'll take tails. It wasn't either or for him. It was what we call the Catholic principle, both and. Both and. And so, brothers and sisters, the question I think each of us must pose to ourselves today and every day, are we willing to bank our eternity on the toss of a coin?